and they forget this little warning. It must have been given in other scriptures earlier, but in this scripture it comes pretty late. And why? Because Atmananda Krishna Menon is talking directly about the primordial awareness or the pure consciousness, or he's talking about consciousness at rest. Yeah, so it didn't make sense to bring it up earlier because he speaks specifically with reference to consciousness at rest or pure consciousness or primordial awareness. So it didn't make sense for him to bring it up earlier. Once the spiritualist gets to Brahman Satyam, that is the right time to bring up this reminder. So the entire chapter 11 is a reminder plus a very special tip for the one who has attained the collapse of the I or the arising of the I, or seen both, either in closed-eyed samadhi or in swapna nidra jnana sadhana. Now for such a one, certain warning signs are given, certain warnings are given. Yeah? So chapter 11 is like a warning for the spiritualist who has completed the Brahman Satyam journey so that he does not slip. Clear? Okay. Ready to begin? Everybody has the PDF, chapter 11. Was that given to everyone? Yes? All good? Okay. The one-liners in this chapter are very simple, so quite a few verses will be covered today. Okay, so let's begin. Atmadarshan, chapter 11. Vastu Swarubam, reality as it is. Verse 1. Nirvikaram nirakara menna shabdangalonnume yada tada vastu rupam kanikyan shaktamayvara. Words such as immutable and formless cannot, even by their negative import, show reality as it is. So this is like a warning for somebody who has completed the Brahman Satyam journey. What is the warning? Somebody who gets to pure consciousness, consciousness at rest, or primordial awareness can start using words like immutable, formless, changeless. But these words do not show reality. Yeah, when we say reality is immutable, reality is formless, reality is beyond thought, reality is not an object, these are useful statements. But they do not show reality as it is. Why? Because these words only deny something. Are you seeing this? Immutable is saying it's not changing. Formless is saying it is not form. Objectless is saying it is not an object. Thought-free is saying it is not a thought. Yeah, so it is telling you what it is not. But reality is not merely the absence of change, absence of form, absence of object, or the absence of thought. Reality is the self-shining beingness, the Satchidananda, the beingness, knowingness, beatitude. And that cannot be expressed in words. It's descriptionless. So because it is descriptionless, we just say it is not this, not this, not this. So it is not the waking, not the dream, not the deep sleep, not Turiya. Now whatever is remaining. that is what it is. But still, these words should not be held on to. I hope the first verse is clear. He's saying negative words can remove false notions. It can remove a false notion that it also must be changing, like the body-mind world changes. It also must have a form like the body-mind world has a form. It also must be an object of experience. Can I actually experience primordial awareness or pure consciousness? That is what the false notions are like. They can develop like that. But false notions can only be removed. In its place, something cannot be put. The truth cannot be positively captured in words. So this is what the first verse is saying. So if you get there, do not start describing it in words. Be very clear that it is descriptionless. So when we are doing this verse, we must check. Am I clear that it is descriptionless? Am I very clear that I don't describe it in words to myself or to another while I discuss this? Have I ever gotten trapped in the magic of words? Formlessness, objectlessness, thoughtlessness, eyelessness. Have I gotten trapped ever in this? These are questions for self-inquiry for the spiritualist who has reached consciousness at rest or pure consciousness. Okay. Verse 2. Mrigamalla tavan marthya nennu chollung lunnadagilo satyamam chonna dennalum martya lakshanamagumo. The statement that man is not a beast is no doubt true. But does it show any of his true characteristics? This is in continuation with verse 1. What is he trying to say? Man is not a beast. True statement, but incomplete. The example is talking very precisely about something. If someone asks, what is a human being? And we answer, a human being is not a beast. That statement is true, but it does not reveal the real nature of man. Okay, I got it. A human being is not a beast. But it does not show what a human being is. Are you getting this? It does not show the intelligence of a human being, does not show sensitivity, self-awareness, love, discernment, power, moral capacity, ability to understand subtle things. All this is not revealed by saying a human being is not a beast. So, if this is very clear, it does not reveal the true nature of man. In the same way, just saying the self is not the body, not the mind, not the world, does not reveal what the self is. Clear? Even saying self is not a thought, it's not perception of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. It still does not reveal the fullness of the self. It only removes a mistaken identification that I could have had. I hope this is becoming very clear. The mistaken identification removal is not equal to the proper description of the self. Because the self is descriptionless. In my direct seeing, I recognize the body is seen. Even the body of the other is seen. The mind is seen. Thought is seen. A feeling arises. Feeling is seen. Even when I say to myself, I am this person, I am Ekta, that is also seen. So none of these can be the real I. So that's how I come to the point where only blankness remains now. After all this is negated, what remains is a blank now. But that self is not even the blank. It is the undeniable shining of being. And that being is not described by words. It cannot be described by words. It is that which knows the words. It is that which is ever present. So one must be very careful that these words should not mislead me and take me to a point where I mind manufacture the collapse of the I, the arising of the I, and the window between the two I call pure consciousness, and then I create a mind manufactured picture of this as some kind of blankness. Yeah, so one must be really wary of just words, spiritual words. Okay. The third verse continues along the same lines. Vastu swarupam sheriyai kanikyan sadhyamai vara tadastha lakshanam matra manu shabdanga lokeyum. It is impossible to show reality as it is. Words are at best mere pointers. Yeah, the same thing that we've started talking about from verse 1 and 2 continues into 3. Words are only pointers. That is the central point. Yeah, for example, I point towards the moon to show you the moon. But if you get stuck on the finger, you will never look up at the sky towards the moon. Yeah. Similarly, consciousness is not a word, and consciousness is not a perception. Yeah. The word consciousness is a word, but consciousness is not a word. Yeah. The word consciousness at rest is a word. But consciousness at rest is not a word. I hope this is opening up. Self is a word, but self itself is not a word. Like that only Brahman, Atma, formlessness, immutable, etc., etc. The word does not contain reality. It is a mere pointer. So the word only turns attention away from the false. Its job is only this much, that at least I don't mistakenly think it has a form, it is thought, it is a perception. Mistaken identity is taken away. So you turn your attention away from the false. Yeah. But what are you moving towards is the ever-present, alive, undifferentiated emptiness. So the mistake would be, if somebody would make it, would be clinging to the word. Yeah? Clinging to the word Atman, self, consciousness. Yeah? Imagining some consciousness is at rest, it's not moving. These are just words, but they are attempting to express that which is descriptionless. Okay. So if you start imagining the word itself, then no, this is a mind manufactured seeing. It is not a direct seeing. Okay. Do not try to imagine the word itself. The word is only a pointer. Look in that direction. Don't give attention to the word. If you remember, those who've come from the Dvaitam path, you used to repeat certain mantras. I am Brahman, I am Brahman. I am consciousness, I am consciousness. I am formless, Nirakar. Singing those songs or repeating a mantra in a song-like fashion gave you a kind of a softness of mind. A mental repetition gives you a calmness within. It's got nothing to do with the word consciousness, formlessness, etc. If you had said Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola a zillion times in a sing-song fashion, that would give you the same mental calmness. It is only another thought structure that calms down the other vasanas around thought, that particular thought. And hence only that thought remains. So if you had just chanted Coca-Cola, 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 you would have still gotten to the same thing. Yeah, so be very careful, especially if you've come from that path where you went into mantra repetition in the past. Reality cannot be directly seen through a word. That is merely a mental imagination. So if any of you had any mantras in the past, this should be a warning signal for yourself. You should remind yourself not to fall into that trap of repetition of the word. Okay. Now, many people might ask, oh, does this mean I listen to some soft music to keep the mind calm? I should stop listening to that? No, as long as you're aware that what holy words are being chanted in that music, they are just words. Just by me experiencing some calmness by some holy song going on doesn't mean I have attained consciousness at rest. Yeah? That clarity should be there. It is just music. You put on some film music also, soft film music also, you will get the same effect. You put on some instrumental music also, you will get the same effect. Yeah, so there's nothing special about that particular holy word, the holy music. Yeah. Be very clear about it. It is not taking me to consciousness at rest, and I should not confuse myself that it is taking me there. As long as that awareness is there, that's fine. But you should not make it a habit. The habit should be the ability to sit in silence, the ability to bear the power of silence. Then only the psychic bandwidth becomes empty. That should be the end goal for somebody in Gurukul. Clear? Okay. Moving on to verse 4. Ivastavam dharikyade shabdartham lakshamakiyal yadarthanubhavam kitta kalangamadil nilkayal. If without knowing this, one contemplates what is literally signified by words, one's experience of reality will be tainted to that extent. Very important, please highlight. Experience of reality will be tainted to that extent. So do not get caught up in words. If you literally contemplate on the word, then you will be stuck in word. Which means what? You'll get addicted to that holy music. Without that holy music, the mind will not calm down. So if you're asked to do silent samadhi, you're not able to calm the mind down. This means the mind has got tainted. Now it is looking for that particular music only. I'm just giving a random example. Yeah. So any addiction on the path of spirituality will taint your journey. Means it will pull you back. The right aim, the right goal is the ability to simply be comfortable with silence. Yes, that's why I encourage everybody that you must do one samadhi sitting at least in a week. If you're very busy, you have a householder's life, lots of responsibilities, I understand, but one samadhi is important. If you can do more than one, great. you have the time and you have the house to yourself for a few hours on a daily basis, great. Do more than once. But if you are very, very busy, at least once in a week. Why? Because the silence wipes away words. Silence is like the wiper. It wipes away all emotions of the week, all thoughts of the week, whether pleasant or unpleasant, all of them get wiped away. It works like an eraser. It erases the blackboard completely or the whiteboard completely. It brings you back to rest. And it gives you the ability to tolerate the power of silence. So those who are not doing at least one samadhi a week, see that you start. Yeah, very important. We have 4 samadhi sessions on Zoom every week. Join any, whichever falls in your time zone, whichever works for you. Once a week, it's important that I erase all words and I develop the capacity to be comfortable with no words, absence of words, absence of noise basically. Yeah? Even absence of this noise, this mental chit-chat goes on continuously, no? This is also the word, shabda. Yeah? I have to make an attempt that once a week I get to nishabda. Nishabda means absence of sound, absence of the word. Okay. What will that do? It will erase the taint that I have collected through the week. Don't say I'll do it at a retreat once in a year. No, 1 year's written words are too much. They cannot be wiped away by a simple 10-day retreat. Yeah, so you must attempt samadhi back at home at least once a week if you are a householder. Why? Because whatever happens in the household, I take those words literally. And then my reality gets tainted by those words. Those words are nothing but imagination. So it's a very subtle warning to the one walking on the path of Jagat Mithya that you've got that glimpse of Brahman Satyam. And that needs to be preserved, that needs to be conserved, that needs to be nurtured, that needs to be protected. Yeah? So the subtle warning is protect it. Okay. To such an extent that when you hear the word formless, the mind should not imagine a vast empty space. Till that level you should be able to protect. If you hear the word immutable, the mind does not start imagining something frozen, static, unmoving. If you hear the word thought, that is beyond thought or thoughtlessness, the mind should not imagine some unconscious void. No. No imagination should be allowed to enter. This is the special warning that Atmananda is giving you at this stage. Yeah, the moment you hear the word witness, the mind should not observe, not imagine some observer, silent, subtle, quiet observer sitting behind the eyes, sitting behind the body. No, all these are mental pictures, they are not reality. Yeah, reality is not some vast space. It's not some frozen stillness. It's not some unconscious void. It is not some hidden observer behind the head, behind the eyes. No. Reality is the very knowingness because of which there is space, stillness, blankness, observer, body, mind, world. Reality is the knowingness. Yeah, it cannot be imagined. So, very important chapter. This is very important. I feel he should have put it actually right in the beginning. A beginner should be given this. Why? Why is he giving us this warning? He's saying when words are taken literally, mind creates a subtle object out of it. Yeah, and calls that subtle object reality. And you will start using words like, oh, I have attained pure consciousness. I have attained consciousness at rest. No. Who is saying I have attained pure consciousness? That I has just created a mental object, made it an object of perception. Yeah? This is a taint. This mental object, this imagined object of perception, which I call pure consciousness, which I call witness consciousness, which I call consciousness at rest, this becomes my taint. Yeah? So this is a very subtle warning, but should be taken very seriously by somebody who has reached this stage. Okay. Who has seen this knows that one's experience of consciousness at rest cannot be mixed with mental imagination. He knows it. There is clarity there. And therefore, I should again and again, in my closed-eyed samadhi or in my swapna nidra jnana sadhana, attempt to get there so that I completely go so far away, zoomed out from mental imagination, that not even in error can this imagination touch me. I should become dhrida, stable, established very strongly in the recognition of what reality is. Okay? It's only a realization. It cannot be described by words. That takes us to verse number 5. Sarva bhavanayum vittu nilkuvanulla margamai shabdangal swigari chagi ladu nalladu tanneyam. If words are taken merely as a help to rise above all thoughts, it is perfectly in order. This should be your mantra. The word is just a little support, a little help, and it takes me beyond thought. Great. This is the way it should be. Okay? The correct use of words is only to rise above the words. Words are useful, but only when they help the mind to become quiet, not when they make the mind busy with imagination. Do you see the difference? Yeah? They must make the mind quiet and settled. They must not rake up more words, more ideas, more feelings, more memories, more concepts. Then that becomes imagination. It becomes a philosophy. Don't create any philosophy. I am not the body. Very simple thing as a beginner you heard. I am not the body. Don't try to create an idea of what I am then. No. I am just not the body. That's it. It's meant to take away the mistaken identification with the body. That's it. Don't try to imagine what not the body is. No. Very clear what he's saying? The body is known, and therefore I am the knower. I am only knowing this body. Very clearly, that which I know I cannot be. This is a trackpad. I am knowing it. I am the knower of it. Therefore, I am not the known. Like that only, there is this body. I am knowing it. Therefore, I am not the known. That's it. That's where the meaning stops. I am not the body. Now don't create a different meaning of what is the meaning of not the body. Then what am I? No. That is imagination. It's only allowing the negative import to drop away any mistaken identity that could have come up and imagination that could have come up, and then stopping there. Yeah? Not to imagine what not the body is. Clearly, I hope this is very clear what I'm saying. Yeah. Again, the second thing you learnt as a beginner, I'm not the mind. Again, remind yourself, this is not a philosophy. I see thoughts appear, they peak, they disappear. Feelings appear, they peak, they disappear. Oh, naturally, I'm not what is being known. Stop there. Not to try to imagine not the mind. It's not a possibility to imagine it. Do you get it? Yeah. Whatever you create will be wrong. Will be wrong. Yeah. I, the knowing presence, just know. I'm not even the thought. I'm not even the ego. I'm not even the one that is saying, I am the knower. No. Even the sentence, I am the knower, is known. Do you see that very clearly? Yes, this very beautiful chapter. Even the personal I is known. It is an appearance. I see it appear and disappear. That's it. You stop there. Don't try to see what is the meaning of that which is the not I. No. Just that sense of knowing, that presence is so evident. Be with it. Don't try to imagine it in sight. Don't try to imagine it as a sound. Don't try to imagine it as smell, taste, or touch. Are you getting this? Don't try to imagine it as a sensation, not as a thought, not as a feeling. You see, your imagination ends the moment you come to this understanding. Now the mind naturally becomes silent. That silence, that which is beyond words. The word helped you to just get to that silence. Is this clear? This verse is very clear. It only helped me to rise above the thought. This should be the process. If this is understood, verse 6 will become easy now. Verse 6. Bhavanathida mam vastu lakshamai tirikyugil shabdhanu vidhamaidum vastu sthidhi labichidum. If reality is conceived of as beyond thoughts, and contemplation is directed accordingly, words may help to lead one to a stage where all thoughts cease and reality is experienced. Basically, you get to consciousness at rest, or you recognize the collapse of the I, because I is the last thought. It's the last thought. Once the I collapses, you get to a stage where reality is experienced. Why? Because reality is beyond thought. Reality is beyond word. I is the last word in the mind. It's the last word. Its job is done. Once its job is done, it collapses. So, I cannot sit and contemplate nothingness, nobodiness. No, these are just words helping you to go beyond the idea of a body, of someone or something. The self is not an object. So how can that be contemplated? Simply recognizing it as one's own being. That's it. That is the meaning of indirectly contemplated. You cannot directly see it through sight, through sound, through smell, through taste, through touch, thought, feeling, or sensation. Indirect contemplation is just recognizing it as my own being. Where do you recognize this the best? Either in closed-eyed samadhi or in Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana. When it becomes repetitive, I see it in many samadhis. I get to bodilessness, thoughtlessness, and I-lessness. I is the last thought. It collapses. It finished. The word finished its job and collapsed. It took me to that which is beyond. There, that beingness. That is the way to contemplate it. Contemplate does not mean I am Brahman, I am Brahman, I am Brahman. No. That is not contemplation. Contemplation is always indirect. Now, when it happens many times in samadhi, in my closed-eyed samadhi, and it happens many times in Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana, I see the I collapse in deep sleep after recognizing there's nothing here, nothing here, nothing here. I collapses. The last word has completed its job. Repetitively here in Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana, repetitively in Samadhi. Repetitively in Samadhi, repetitively in Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana. Then automatically it comes into open-eyed. I don't have to make an effort. If I make an effort, I imagine. Become very clear. If I make an effort, there is imagination. It must be effortless. Because it's the recognition of what I truly am already. I don't have to create it. I am that. Clear? So, that indirect contemplation is recognition of one's own true being. So, how many of us can say, yes, I have automatically, naturally, spontaneously moved from closed-eyed samadhi and Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana to open-eyed abidance in the self? Are you there yet? Yes, some of us are there. Great. Some of us are not there yet. So, we should know journey is not over. We should not be too quick in claiming, okay, I got there. Yay. No. You're getting excited too soon. Don't declare so quickly. Get there. It should be in your open-eyed. Attempt to get there in open-eyed. Then only can you proclaim that the journey is complete. Till you don't get there, one must continue. Closed-eyed samadhi, Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana. Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana, closed-eyed samadhi. So see that we join the samadhi session at least once a week, and in the Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana flock, every night post at least one, and yours should be now specifically related to the collapse of the eye or the arising of the eye, that window. You should post about that. That is a way to get out of the whole mundane words of the whole day. Entire daily routine is what? Words, 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 words. I have to attempt to go beyond words, right? So I post that in the SNGS flock. It's like a reminder. Can I now step away from the word and go beyond? So the taint starts getting removed right there when the waker sits on the bed and is ready to lie down and disappear. Right there it should begin. And to keep the mind motivated, you post in the flock. It keeps it going. Then there are no misses. If you've been missing Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana many nights, then it will serve as keeping the mind accountable. Very important. So those who have not been posting in SNGS Commands flock channel, see that you start from tonight. Clear? So now the next two verses are together. Verse 7 and 8 I'll do together, and then we'll go into the explanation. Verse 7. Bhavana kya puram nilkum vastuve lakshamakyuvan kadi villennu tonida marta milladi lottume. Doubt may arise whether it is possible to contemplate anything beyond all thoughts. It is possible. The difficulty is only apparent. This you know. You are not a beginner. A beginner on this path might find it difficult to understand, but somebody who has been walking the path, they know very clearly the I is there constantly in the waking, claiming to be the waker in the waking world. The I is there even in the dream. It becomes the dream character. It pretends to be lost in some dream scene. And that I is there even in deep sleep, knowing the absence of waking and dream, knowing the absence thought. You're not a beginner. You see, even beyond this, you recognize that, oh, I am the fourth. I am Turiya. Because I am commonly there in waking, dream and deep sleep. Yeah, I am the fourth. And even this, I am the fourth, is word, is a word. This word also collapses. This is the last word, the last thought. When this collapses, there is the knowing that the last word collapsed. When it arises back up, there's that sense of existing that comes up. It doesn't say anything yet, but there's that sense of existing. I exist. That is recognized as the first word. Why word? It's a literal translation of Shabda from Sanskrit. Yeah? And it is sound. Sound means noise. That which is the opposite of pure consciousness or primordial awareness. That is silence. That is consciousness at rest. Even just the sense of existing is consciousness in motion already. Okay? Just the sense of existing. Recognize that. So one who has reached this stage recognizes that it is possible. The difficulty was only apparent in the beginning when I had not practiced Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana enough and not recognized even that I am the one knowing nothingness in deep sleep. That is the time I found all this difficult. Now with so many years of practice, I've reached a point where I recognize, oh, it was only an apparent difficulty. The moment I saw the I collapse, it became so clear I have to be that which is beyond, that which knew the last word disappear, the last shabda disappear, the last noise, the noise of existing disappear. If you clearly see this, naturally you will overcome fear. You will see fear is also just a thought. Even the fear of death is only a thought. I am never going to die. That's how you know that you have really completed the journey properly. Brahman Satyam is truly established. The body will still have its reflexes. The body is walking and some snake is on the path. The body is going to jump. The body has its biological reflexes. Those are not going away. But I, the witness, am not afraid of death. That is the difference. Clear? Do not confuse body reflexes with fear of death that is carried by the witness consciousness. Now the witness knows I am pure consciousness. I do not die. If fearlessness has not been established yet, a little more seeing is in order. Seeing of the collapse of the I and the re-arising of the I. Very important. That needs to really happen more. In closed-eyed samadhi, and in Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana. If it's not happening back at home, then you're invited to the retreat. Come there, we isolate from all attachments. It becomes very easy in Samadhi to see the collapse. And then that night only, or the next night at the retreat, sleeping by yourself in the room, very quickly the waker disappears, dream disappears, dream character disappears. The nothingness is recognized as nothingness. The I standing alone, the sense of existing standing alone is known. And then that also dissolves. Who saw it dissolve? That is who I am. Once you see it at the retreat, then it becomes easier to again see it many times back at home. Yeah, so the difficulty is only apparent. Why? Because I always made myself believe the imaginary thought that I am Ekta, I am this body. Yeah, this imagination drops away. Then the difficulty also drops. Okay, that is verse 7. Verse 8. Drishyamayullade nere bhavikyan kadiyu dridan jnanena vastu drishtavam drishyamavillorekyalum. It is true that only an object of perception can be directly contemplated. The I is always the perceiver and never an object of perception. This becomes your reality. Now you see this. The I was always the perceiver. It cannot become an object of perception. Which I? We are talking about the real I. After the collapse of the false I thought, that which is the real I. If you remember, Atmananda addresses that as the real I, consciousness at rest. He addresses as the real I. Yeah, so any doubts that used to arise earlier, and I used to think, oh, it's so difficult, all that goes away. Goes away by just seeing that the I was always the perceiver. It could never be perceived. Yeah. As a beginner, I might think, oh, witness consciousness, journey done, I am there. You're seeing the I and you're thinking, this is it. No, a point comes when even this collapses. And the I shifts from the witness to the pure consciousness. Now that is the real I, and you recognize, oh, that is always the perceiver. I cannot turn back and look at it. No way can I perceive it. So then it becomes very clear, anything perceived is not I. The body is perceived, so the body is not the real I. Breath is perceived, breath is not the real I. Thought is perceived, thought is not real I. All feelings, emotions, they are perceived, not the real I. So the sense of being a person is also perceived. I am Ekta. Sense of being a person. Even that is not the real I, because that also disappears. Where? Right after deep sleep, where it has recognized there's nothing to know here, that false perceiver cannot continue its performance anymore. It sleeps, it rests, it melts away. Yeah. Then, where is this person who was saying, I? Where is this Turiya also, which was saying, I am the fourth? That has also disappeared. So the real I cannot be perceived. You cannot stand apart from the real I and see it. Not possible. Why? Because you are it. And the example given in most scriptures, just like the eye can see the objects, but it cannot turn around and see itself, like that only the consciousness at rest, pure consciousness, it cannot turn around and see itself. It knows everything, but it cannot become an appearance to itself. And there is no mirror that can show it other than the witness consciousness. Okay. So that brings us to today's last verse, verse 9. Once I start recognizing the self is self-shining like the sun. The sun does not need some other light to illuminate it. It is self-shining like that. The self is shining by itself, self-luminous. It doesn't need another object to be seen. It itself is the power of seeing. So when this becomes very clear and you get established in it, not just words intellectualized, you must get established. Once you get established in it, now verse 9 becomes very clear. Verse 9, Drishyamallai gayal nere bhavikyan sadhyamai vara engilum lakshamakida madanubhava magiyal. As it is not an object of perception, direct contemplation of the eye is out of the question. Nonetheless, because it is experienced as one's being, it is possible to contemplate it indirectly. And now it becomes your real seeing, that I can only contemplate it indirectly, just by recognizing the sense of beingness. That's it. Not directly, not like with a mantra, not with a word, not as a perception of sight. Only indirectly it is possible. What does this verse 9 mean? Means you've already completed repetitive seeings of consciousness at rest in your closed-eyed samadhi, repetitive seeings of consciousness at rest in Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana, and it has naturally percolated into your open-eyed seeing. And now you're able to contemplate it indirectly like that, as the sense of beingness. So everything becomes one. The pure consciousness, the witness consciousness, the mind, the body, and the world all becomes one. There is a oneness there. This is a very subtle and beautiful point. That oneness is seen. That is the Sahaja Sthiti or Jagrat Sushupti. Sahaja Sthiti, in English, natural state. Jagrat Sushupti, awakened sleep. There's clarity. I cannot contemplate that as an object. I just removed everything, all the mistaken identities. That is not self. What is Buddha's method? Am I the body? No, the body is known to me, so it is not self. Am I the senses? No, the senses are known to me, so it is not self. Am I the thoughts? No, thoughts are known to me, it is not self. Anatma, anatma, anatma is the word. In Pali, the word is anatta, anatta, anatta. And that's how Buddha also takes you to the same. Is the feeling known to me? Yes. Then I cannot be this feeling. Feeling is not self. Memory comes, memory appears. Is it known to me? Yes. Then I am not the memory. It is not self. What about the ego? Ego arises, says, I am this, I am that. No, it is known to me. If it is known to me, that means it is not self. What remains? Again, you come to a blankness. It's not an object. It's not a thought. It doesn't have a form. There is no concept. Oh, what remains is the undeniable shunyata. Those who have been walking the Buddha's path, you've done the jhanas, you come to that shunyata in jhana 9. It's the undeniable sense of shunya, shunya self. It doesn't say I am this. It doesn't say I am that. Just shunya. So you just remove the not self, and what remains is the self. And it's shining by itself. This was Buddha's method. I'm drawing a parallel between Buddha and Advaita to show you both reach the same place. You brought it out into your open-eyed. So this should be your next goal. All those who are in Gurukul, next level that I have to really understand is awakened sleep, Jagrat Sushupti, open-eyed Samadhi. This is my next level of goal. And that is why chapter 10 was so long, attempting to bring us to this point where I come to Jagrat Sushupti. And Jagrat Sushupti should not be 10 minutes in a retreat, huh? No. I need to get to a state where open-eyed daily routine with the family, friends, work life, all of it becomes a oneness, no two, Advaita. Clear? Verse 9 is clear. It is experienced as one's being. That is verse 9. So we'll stop here for this week. Contemplate on all of these. Become very clear. You are not indulging in imagination. Your mind is not manufacturing ideas. I threw out a few imaginations that you could, no? But there could be more than that. I just threw out 3-4 kind of examples that came up. Yeah, so become very clear, I'm not doing that. Become very clear. Samadhi also reveals the same thing Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana reveals, and it's repetitive. If it's not repetitive, that's where I must start now. Most important, collapse of the I and the rearising of the I. Yeah, means I see the collapse of the last word. That's how I know I can go beyond Shabda or the last word. And I should see the rearising. Who saw the rearising of the first word? That means I am beyond that first word. Yeah, so only when I'm 100% sure about this particular window, collapse of the I and the rearising of the I, and I bring it out into my open-eyed, then only can I come to the higher level where Atma-darshan is taking me now. And the rest of Atma-darshan will be along the same lines. If your practice is lukewarm, then it will all be intellectual after this. So see that, pull up your socks, get serious now. Okay? Okay. That ends the chapter. Any questions?
Ektaji, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, in the Ramadrishti also yesterday, it was kind of on the same lines where we bring this beingness into open-eyed. So, after the session, it was automatically in that state. But that only lasted for
Yeah.
few minutes.
Yes. Good. Very honest. That's honesty. Yeah. Understand Ramadrishti is a little behind compared to this Gurukul batch. Yeah. So there it's just lukewarm, simple explanations. This goes deeper. Yeah. So now you analyze, why did it last only a little bit? Why little bit? What happened? You will see it is the word, Shabda, sound. Yeah, don't take it just as English words or Tamil, Telugu words or Hindi words. It's not, we are not talking about language. We are talking about sound. Yeah? It is just sound that disturbed the silence. What sound? Why did it disturb? Inquire and investigate into what was the path in which the attention went outwards. Yes? And then analyze which are my biggest obstacles. They are going to be different for each one of you. Yeah? What applies to Shalini does not apply to you. Yeah? So obstacle is going to be different. It is only that the attention went in the wrong direction. Don't blame the spouse, don't blame the child, don't blame money, don't blame work. It's pointless. And these are only imaginations of mine. The problem was the movement of attention. I was inward turned, I was at rest, I was really there, and the moment there was some shabda, some sound, the attention moved there. And how did it move? Why did it move? What is the attachment there? That is a personal level work. I will not be able to point out what it is, and as you are on the Buddha's path, I can give you a tip from the last retreat that we did. It is usually either a raga or a dosha or a moha. Raga is greed, dosha is hatred, ill will, negativity, and moha is delusion. I get identity from it. One of the three will be there. This is for the people who did the Buddha retreat recently, so they can actually investigate what haunted the attention and drew it away from the silence and drove it away from the silence. So you must check, what is it? What is doing this? And then that is your work area. If you see it is greed, then lobha. Greed, I have to work on that. Raga is lobha, rago, if you remember. Dosha is some hatred, ill will, negativity, some ill thought, some negative feeling, something that drove me out. And moho. Moho is, it gave me identity. And in search of identity, I moved away from the silence. I couldn't maintain the oneness. Oneness has no identity. Do you recognize that? There's no identity in oneness. Yes, that could be the reason. That I would not know. That only you can investigate, you can recognize, and then work on that specific thing. Attempt to be in that now also. Now I will take your leave. You will have 10-15 minutes of contemplation. Just be in that. Attempt to bring it here right now. Can you stay in the oneness? And see what happens the moment you open the door and step out of that room. Investigate what is happening. And find out, is it lobho, greed, or rago, craving? Second is dosha, which also includes aversion, hatred, ill will, anger, disappointment, etc., etc. Or is it identity that I'm searching for, moho? Search for some identity. Observe it. It could be a mixture of one or two, depends on what the situation is. That only you can see. And now you recognize, oh, this is my weak point. I slip here. This is my weak point. How can I strengthen it? How can I strengthen it? It's a very personal level work which I will not be able to figure out for you. Clear?
Gitaji, I have a doubt about being versus beingness. So, being is the sense I am. So that in that there is a subtle word underneath I am, and beingness is where the words drop. Is that
correct? Correct. When Atmananda uses it, he is using being and beingness interchangeably. It is the same thing. They are not separate in Atmadarshan. But if you want to say the sense, I sense, the way Nisargadatta Maharaj says. So he is saying the I sense, the sense of being, I. There, yes. So it differs from sage to sage, from scripture to scripture. But don't hold on to the words. Don't hold on to the words. When the context is completely understood, you would know what the sage means. Clear? So understanding the context should be the aim, not one particular word.
Self-awareness, like right now I recognize myself as awareness, and I know that I'm awareness. So is this a kind of subject, or it's not subject object, so but still there is a recognition that I am awareness. So what does it fall under?
It still falls under I'm recognizing myself as the witness consciousness, because there is a two. When you're in Jagrat Sushupti, there is no two, there is no multiplicity. There is no sense of I am recognizing awareness. No. There is no separation. There is no two. You cannot even break it down into words. If you're breaking it down into words to describe it, then it is just simply recognizing I am the witness. You're still at the witness level, but calling it the pure consciousness level. This is also imagination. Huh? This is what imagination does to you. It dilutes pure consciousness to the witness consciousness level. That's what we should be really wary of. Yeah.
Speaking of attachments, last summer, Pamya worked with a list of attachments. We went through one of them, practicing seeing them as arisings, seeing the oneness. It was a big list.
Yeah.
Came winter, they popped up just like mushrooms pop up after rain. New attachments came.
Yeah. It has
The realization after that was basically it is the seeking. ये नहीं तो ये.
Very honest. Yes. So then you know moho is the problem. Moha means the delusion that I am. I exist. And if this thing gives me that existence feeling, this is good enough. I'm going to go with this. So that is what is described on Buddha's path. So recognize I have to work on moho. It's not a particular rago dosho for me. I worked on the rago dosho, they disappeared, something else appeared. Oh, if the attachment is not continuous, the seeking has been continuous. The seeking is what I must work on, not that particular attachment. Clear? So see, like Pamir came up honestly and I could figure it out. This is the way one-on-one happens. Then I can help you. But if it's just a very vague kind of example, then you will have to work on it. Yeah, so now what Pamir needs to work on is seeking. Oh, if something else popped up, the same thing didn't pop up again. Something new came up. Means the seeking tendency, that is seeking an identity, that is the problem. The identity seeking tendency needs some work. Yeah, so now going down deeper, what is this identity seeking tendency? It's only attention going outwards. Going outwards, why? It is not comfortable where it is. What is the discomfort where it is? That's how you inquire. And only you know. I don't know what the discomfort is. That answer will come from within. Oh, the discomfort is this. Aren't these just words? Isn't this just an imagination? Like that, you work on it. I don't know exact words what will come up. So you see. And that's how you dive deeper. And then you erase. Erasure is a continuous exercise. You cannot say, oh, I did it some time ago, I'm done. No. I have to continuously erase so that the seeking stops. It realizes, oh, everything is lying on water now. Yeah, everything is getting erased. Anything I hold on to is erased. Anything I try to grasp is erased. oh, okay. Then it'll stop. That going out, it'll happen in snaps, 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 and then it becomes stable. Now there is no more going out. There is just staying here. Okay? It requires work. And the only work is like the negative import. Isn't this just words? Isn't this just imagination? Isn't this just an illusion? Yeah? Not this, not this, not this. That's how you get established. So there is something within that is not convinced. Arrive at that specific one, that specific thing, that specific aspect that is still bringing up a doubt, which is making the attention go out to seek. Arrive at that. Yeah? That is again personal work. Only you can figure it out.
Arriving at that, could it be a sensation, thought, feeling? Is it? I'm sorry, I don't have words. No, I'll just try. And
Yeah, you have to just
give the feedback,
investigate.
okay.
And it's going to be thought, feeling, sensation, perception. It cannot be anything other than that. It is not the self. It is not the self. So that means I have to work a little bit more in my closed-eyed samadhi. Get to the collapse of the I. Recognize the taste of this self. There is no seeking there. There is no going out there. There is no want there. By its own nature, there is desirelessness. By its own nature, it is desirelessness. Yeah, so when there's no desire, there is no seeking. Then what is this that is going out? Yeah, so figure that out. You'll come to it. It'll be a thought, a feeling, a sensation, perception, whatever. You'll be able to work on it then. So this week, investigation is in order, not just for Pamir, for everyone. Yes? Hardcore investigation. Read this chapter again and again, however much you feel, oh, I don't get trapped by words. Oh, I am there. No. Anybody can get trapped by words. That is why there is the term fallen yogi. Somebody who reaches Brahman also gets trapped. Yeah, the snake at 99 bites him, and in that snake and ladders game, you know, from 99 the long snake brings you down to 9. Like that, it can happen to anybody. So don't get overconfident. Always be vigilant. The work is never done. Never done. And that's why journaling continuously is important. Continuously recognizing new attachments that have cropped up is important. Recognizing if the same old attachment that I thought I was over has cropped up again. Very important to keep a track of everything. Okay. Treat it as a personal project. I gave an example in the other group that journaling is very important on a daily basis, and if you don't want a family member to see your journals, there are some new type of journals available which have a lock also, a cute small lock, or they have those codes. You can lock your journal, so just in case by mistake it's left out and a family member sees it, they still cannot open it. Yeah, those kind of journals are available. That'll make you feel a little safe to write everything down. Once it's out, Shabda is out, then you can easily move to Nishabda. But if you're harboring the Shabda, thinking, no, I cannot put this down in writing, then it's too crowded in here. How will you go to Nishabda? If you were truly a Shravaka, he listens to it and he gets to silence. You would have gotten there by now. It's not happened. Be humble, be honest about it. Yeah, I'm not at Nishabda continuously. I'm not stabilized there. I will have to really make this effort of getting all the shabda out, all the sound out. All the words that can create imagination should be out on paper, not here in the mind. Mind should be empty. Okay. Good. All done with questions? Okay. If anything pops up, post it in Flock later. Very important chapter. See that you really dive deeper into it. Commit to Samadhi. We'll meet in 2 weeks. We'll do a self-exploration. It will be a Samadhi self-exploration next week. So commit to Samadhi. See that you do at least 2 Samadhis before we meet again. 1 per week. Those who have a little more time, great. You are really lucky. Put in more time during the week. Do more Samadhi. Every night Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana, very important. Punch it in Flock if you've not been doing it. It gets the mind out of the Shabda and takes it easily to Nishabda in Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana. Very important. Just that reminder when I post in Flock, okay, now I need to stop pretending to be the waker. You will only start. I have to be the witness. Can I stay here? I'm not going to argue with the spouse, with the kid. I'm not going to bother. The bed sheet is not clean. I'm not going to start blah, blah, blah. That thing starts happening naturally. Why? Just because I posted 1 sentence in SNGS, may I see the collapse of the arising. All Shabda starts dropping. Do you recognize this happening? The mind feels all accountable now. Now that I've posted, now I have to do it. It becomes a little responsible. And the mischievous child stops running around and attempts to be a little disciplined. That's it. Just for the sake of that discipline, you punch it in. It'll help you and you go deeper. Both in Samadhi and Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana. Both must happen. Okay? Chalo. Then I'll meet you soon. Next week, happy Samadhi.
At least in the last few months, that every time a sort of sankalpa is made, I'll do this, may it be completing the exam or homework or something, that is like, it doesn't happen.
Exam is
Just
different.
but there is no suddenly, but from suddenly somewhere something comes and it happens.
Yes, true. Flow is there. The flow is there. Now also the flow is only telling you that punch it in SNGS Flock channel in the night.
Oh.
It's the flow only bringing it. Yeah. So the flow there's no agenda. I don't get anything from you posting there. It's the flow bringing it.
No.
Yeah. So it's the flow. Recognize it as the flow. Even the command is coming from the flow. Yeah, let me just go with the flow. And recognize where did the resistance come up. That also is an area of work. And maybe this resistance comes up to the flow. Can I just surrender to the flow? Every time something comes surprisingly. You didn't know Ekta is going to say this today, right? It was a surprise. Surprise means it came from the flow. Only because this chapter is about words. No? How can I drop the last word before the waker lies down to disappear? Just as an initiation in that direction, where I attempt to understand Shabda is the problem. It creates a problem. Yeah, it is that banana skin on which I will definitely slip. So I need to become aware of it. So when I punch it in, immediately this chapter comes up, the recognition comes up that, oh, word is like the banana peel. I'm going to slip. Immediately you come to the quiet witnessing space. It's just a way to get you back if you have started slipping a lot. That's it. Command from the flow. Okay. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.